Home, and I'm going to say howdy. All right. We're delighted to welcome him here. Pleased to have invited him to see the most dynamic community, dynamic mayor, and congressional delegation that includes Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, and yours truly, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And there are many others, but this is the dynamic delegation that we're so glad to have present here today. Somebody wanted to clap for the dynamic delegation. I knew that as the Secretary begins to implement the bipartisan infrastructure dollars, which this community is front and center for the initial portions of that $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, that the Secretary was very instrumental in his fact-finding, his advocacy on facts, as he met with the United States Congress and any number of congressional hearings to bring us to a point where those dollars, along with the Inflation Reduction Act, that will match together to help us be the cornerstone of new innovation in the world. And Houston, Texas, its aviation component, will be a major part of it, led by our own climate mayor, who has seen innovation grow up in Midtown, downtown, and in the airport. We are an innovation city. Would you give our mayor a very big hand as well? So before we even start, as I acknowledge our county attorney, Councilmember Robinson, an architect and planner, the leadership of the mayor's dynamic development team. Labor is here, Paul Puentes, who we will hear from, and the chief of operations is here for the Houston airport as well. We have the whole team. But before we even start, I think it is important to be able to show this wonderful first down payment. And so, Mr. Secretary, if you would come forward, and the mayor, my colleagues, we're going to do this right at the beginning. You're unveiling. You thought you weren't unveiling anything, but you're unveiling. Because I think people have to see what, if you would come. Congressman Garcia, Mayor, and others. You hear about it, but you haven't seen it. That's the big $40 million, and it's now coming down the pipe. As you have seen, a major reformation of these dollars and other dollars. That Terminal A is not going to look like Terminal A. I'm going to say in the weeks and months to come, somebody is talking and working. Now it's my pleasure just wanted to give some brief opening remarks, and I want to yield now immediately to the Chief Executive of this innovation city, an airport that's going to be on the cutting edge of innovation, why we are here dealing with aviation and the next generation. Would you welcome Mayor Sylvester Turner?
Let me start off by thanking Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Let me also thank Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and the entire congressional delegation representing the city of Houston for being very responsive to this city. And will you give it up to the members of the congressional delegation? Let me also acknowledge all of our labor leaders who are here. Councilmember David Robertson, our Chief Economic Development Officer, Andy Eakin, the County Attorney, Christian Menifee, who is present. Let me thank all of them for being present. And I'm honored again to welcome Secretary Buttigieg back to the city of Houston. He is no stranger to this city and been very responsive to this city. So if you will, if you'll give it up again to Secretary Buttigieg. Look, I want to thank the Secretary for not only being here today, but for what the Biden-Harris administration has already done on passage of the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act. At the invitation of the White House, it's ironic, I plan to be in D.C. Tomorrow as the President highlights the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. This act is the most significant legislation in the United States history focusing on climate and strengthening our country's energy security. It will lower energy costs for households and businesses, create manufacturing jobs for American workers, and deliver a clean, secure, and healthy future for our children and grandchildren. The savings, the jobs, and other benefits provided by this legislation will reach communities like the city of Houston. And before the IRA, we heard a lot of talk about Infrastructure Week, but this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, actually passed it and is getting it done. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, commonly known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, passed last year, and thanks to Secretary Buttigieg, those dollars are already making a difference right here in the city of Houston. Last month, I was proud to announce and stand with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia the $21 million raise grant for Telephone Road. And that's shared by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and Congressman Al Green. I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary, for that. That money will greatly improve the infrastructure in an underserved community, including bringing Metro bus stops up to boost standards that will make them more accessible for Houstonians with disabilities. The following week, we joined Metro in announcing another $21 million for clean electric buses for Metro, again, standing with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia there, improving both the experience for our riders and lowering the emissions for our mass transit system. Many people will talk about what they plan to do, but Secretary Buttigieg and the rest of President Biden's administration can already be proud of what they have done. I don't think we would be surprised to hear it. Houstonians are depending on them for more down the road. I'm not going to put a big push on him today. I'm just going to smile and say thank you for being here in the city. And that includes our recently submitted Safe Streets for All grants that looks to directly address one of the most dangerous pedestrian stretches of road in the entire city of Houston. I know I'll be talking with the Secretary about this Bissonnet Street grant, which is in an underserved community, a community that I've designated as one of our complete communities and one that's in Congressman Al Green's district. But again, I won't put on a major sale. But I wanted to make sure that I said thank you for the previous dollars before I humbly request more. Again, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for delivering for Houston. Today's announcement that's being directed by Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of more than $40 million in federal funding for Houston airports is welcome news. The grant money will fund projects that improve the passenger experience from curb to gate, enhancing security checkpoints and making the baggage system and curbside access more efficient. This financial investment will help to usher in the next generation of airports that are even safer and more sustainable. And since your appointment as Transportation Secretary, you have worked tirelessly to rebuild, expand, and upgrade the American transportation system. Your policy goals of safety, jobs, equity, including labor, climate, and innovation align with the goals and vision of Houston, the United States climate mayors, and people will see and feel the improvement in their daily commutes thanks to your work. So, Mr. Secretary, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Thank you so very, very much.
Good city government, good mayors generate good leaders, and we're delighted to have someone enthusiastic about aviation travel and the traveling public, which is so very important, Mario Diaz, who serves as Director of Airport Operations and Airports in Houston. Mario?
Good afternoon, everyone. Congressman Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and the rest of the congressional delegation, as the mayor has said, Houston Airports has greatly benefited from your presence and your perseverance in Washington. Thank you for holding steadfast to the commitment to support the community and the citizens you serve. Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg, for your dedication to improving aviation in America through safer and more sustainable airports. Now, we understand there are many considerations that must be taken into account when deciding how to allocate grant funds. But among them, surely, is the results that are expected, the benefits the dollars will bring to the citizens of the region, of the state, and of the nation. So I would like to make 3 points for the question, why Houston? And the first is that I take you back to a speech in Philadelphia on infrastructure in February of 2014, when then Vice President Joe Biden said, and I quote, "If I blindfolded someone and took him at 2 o'clock in the morning into the airport in Hong Kong and said, 'Where do you think you are?' he'd say, 'This must be America. It's a modern airport.' And then he said, 'And if I took you and blindfolded you and took you into,' I'm not going to mention the airport, it's in the Northeast, 'you would think this must be some third world country.' He quickly added, 'I'm not joking. Just in the last decade,' he said, 'the United States is falling 20 spots when it comes to the quality of infrastructure. It's embarrassing.' That puts us literally behind, they rank us behind Barbados. One great country, one airport. Mr. Secretary, I am pleased that you take back to the President the great news that Houston Airport System just this year received a 5-star rating for William P. Hobby Airport. Now, the only 5-star rated airport in all of North America, and one of just 16 in the world. We now not only stand in the company of Hong Kong, but in Changi in Singapore, in Hamad in Qatar, in Haneda in Tokyo, in Incheon, Korea, Istanbul, Turkey, and Munich, Germany, among the others. I have some pins that I will gratefully have you take back to the President to restore his feeling of pride in U.S. airports. We're making it happen. The second point that I would make is that if the United States is to continue in a competitive world economy, to lead in the competitive world economy, we must not only create new and exciting ideas, but we must also be capable of producing the products behind those ideas with quality and efficiency right here in Houston. That means that we must not only train our youth in STEM subjects, but we must also advance their skills in manufacturing means and methods. Toward this goal, the Houston Airport System is partnering with San Jacinto College, with University of Houston, Texas Southern University, Texas A&M, and Rice University to build the Houston Aerospace Institute, an advanced manufacturing training center devoted to providing youth with the competencies like exotic welding, additive, deductive manufacturing, carbon composite fabrication, many other skills needed to support the companies in aviation and aerospace industries right here in Houston. And the final point that I would make is that we understand that our accomplishments aside, we have still a lot of work to do. We have a partial 5-star airport system. We need to make completely a 5-star system. We need to make it, we know what to do, and we know how to do it. We've done it. This is why we appeal to you, Mr. Secretary, to help the citizens of this region by providing the infrastructure funding needed to finish the work we have started here at George Bush Intercontinental Airport. We have orders from our national airlines for 24 additional gates, but major infrastructure work must first be done in order to support and sustain these new additions. The terminal we stand in here today was opened in 1970. It was designed between 1967 and 1969. Recently, my staff took me on a tour of the electrical distribution system we just finished replacing. We walked into the old switchgear room. I saw that some of the equipment dated back to 1970, and some of it was marked with precautionary admonition that for fear the equipment might not re-energize if we powered it down, all maintenance has ceased on this equipment dating back to 1987. We can make Bush Intercontinental another 5-star airport. We can realize our vision to become a 5-star global air service gateway where the magic of flight is celebrated again. Thank you.
President Biden and Secretary Buttigieg, coming from the Midwest, wanted to make sure that we had strong union jobs. And so we could not be here today with $40 million coming into the 18th Congressional District without knowing who's going to be lifting their hands and minds to get it done. So Paul Puentes, Executive Secretary, Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council, Plumbers Local 68, Electrical Workers 716, you are here representing the throngs of men and women who will be lifting up their hands as Americans to make it all work. Would you come forward, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Appreciate you and the hard work that you and the Congress folks are doing at the Capitol. So thank you all for the hard work. Secretary Buttigieg, thank you for your hard work and your tireless efforts to provide funding for our great city, and look forward to seeing you back again with another big check. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor, and appreciate your support in unions and labor. And I just want to say that my name is Paul Puente. I'm the Executive Secretary for the Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council. I represent 26 different construction unions in the Houston Gulf Coast area, along with 15 registered apprenticeship programs that educate that workforce. This workforce, looking forward to the expansion of these 2 airports, and look forward to putting some good union folks to work. And they come with health care and pensions and education at no cost to them. So it's a debt-free. So thank you all so much for the work. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak here as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
With our $43 million plus, what we are saying to the traveling public is we're going to put them first as they leave their apartments and homes to travel internationally or domestically. I'm delighted to have my colleagues join me as Secretary and myself have emphasized his message, and he is clear. He is focused on bringing to America a world-class transportation system that also builds on an economy and creates good union-paid jobs. That money is coming. But I think today what I hope is most important, that we as a community will work together, unified, members of Congress, local government that is represented by the mayor and council member Robinson, who sits on the council, dynamic council members who work under the vision or with the vision of the mayor of the city of Houston, who has generated opportunities for billions reaching trillions of dollars coming to this city. We are happy to work alongside of him as we try to promote, Secretary, good custodial guardianship of federal dollars. And so today, when we think of next steps, as you well know, we have spoken over the months about the new opportunities coming from the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the signing of the Inflation Reduction Act that we will join you tomorrow, is the ability to seek precise and unique grants that will deal with very important moments that will come forward. So before you come, I would like Congressman Al Green to come so that he can say his greetings, followed by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and then we will quickly move to the importance of your message. Congressman Green.
Thank you very much for your very kind and warm introduction. Friends, make no mistake about it. None of this would be occurring today if not but for the skill and the ability to bring people together that the Honorable Joe Biden, President of the United States of America, has employed. He deserves a special Texas-sized expression of appreciation. That's not Texas. That's maybe Fort Worth. Let's hear it for Texas. That's better. That's much better. And as important as the president is, his envoy, his minister plenipotentiary, who happens to be with us today, has his fingerprints all over any aspects of this legislation that has come to fruition. Again, you can thank people once, you can thank them twice, but you have to thank them at one more time simply because I've asked you to. Would you please now, Secretary Buttigieg, one additional time. Thank you so much. Yes, this is a team effort. Make no mistake about this. It is a team effort. It wouldn't happen if the mayor hadn't been there and a good steward of these public dollars. His stewardship of public dollars made his application for this grant important to the extent that it has been granted to us. Let us appreciate the mayor again for his stewardship of the public dollars that make a difference. And the city council person, Robinson, for your stewardship. And I see a city attorney over there who keeps everybody in line. Give him a hand, too. It's a team effort. I compliment Congresswoman Jackson Lee for coordinating the effort. She has done an outstanding job. And for coordinating this event, give her an expression of appreciation, please. And my partner that I work so closely with, on this endeavor, we worked closely on the area that needed a lot of improvement with sidewalks, with signage that made the community safer. She wrote the letter, I co-signed the letter to get it done. Would you give the Honorable Sylvia Garcia an expression of love and appreciation as well? I'll be terse and laconic, as I always am. This city is about to get 20 new electric buses. We are a part of the avant-garde when it comes to transitioning to the green energy portion of our economy. 20 new electric buses will replace these diesel buses and will improve our atmospheric conditions to the extent that some people are going to actually breathe better. I think, Mayor, you should be commended for your transportation department making this request so that we could get these 20 new buses. Many of them will traverse the 9th Congressional District. Would you give the mayor and those who put in this request a big hand, please? I can only end with this. The secretary is going to give you the nuances of it. But I hope the press, when you cover this, that you will acknowledge the team effort that started with the president, moved to the mayor, allowed the Congress people to work together to get this done. Nobody does anything by themselves. Everybody is a part of the whole. And when it comes to this whole, the members of Congress work together to get it done. Let's make sure, press, that you cover it truthfully and fairly as it relates to the members of the Congress who've been engaged in this process. I'm 75 years old. I just celebrated my 25th birthday for the 3rd time. And as such, I feel free to speak truthfully about things as they occur. So I'm grateful, but I'm also truthful. This is something that all of the members of this delegation made happen. I thank you very much. Thank you again, Mayor.
We're excited to have all that we have here. I acknowledge Carolyn guests. I just want the community to raise their hands that have come out so I can see you. Business community is represented in the Black Chamber. Do we have any others? Let me acknowledge the various members of the airport team. If you're part of the airport team, raise your hand. You do a great job. If you're a pilot, pilots, raise your hand. Raise your hand. I see a gentleman there. Don't be shy. Raise your hand. And we got any flight attendants here? Any flight attendants? Well, we thank you. Thank you in your absence. TSA, are you in the room? All right. Thank you all so very much. I already saw Customs here. Customs, thank you again for your presence. And I've got to have a special guy in the room named Roy, and I'm delighted that he is here as well. So thank you all so very much. You are the infrastructure that gets things done. Now let's have Congresswoman Garcia come, who I know flies out all the time and is a strong champion for all the work that we do. Sylvia Garcia, thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And, you know, when you're kind of last, you always kind of wonder if you were saved for the best or just the closer or the one that's going to ask for the money. I don't know, Mayor. What do you think? But, you know, I just want to add my thank yous, Mr. Secretary, for all the support that you've given Houston. I know that the whole team here represented, from aviation, from the departments, from the mayor, from the council members, from the bottom of our heart, and our hearts in Texas are big. We thank you. You know, many of you have heard the saying, planes, trains, and automobiles. That's what the Department of Transportation oversees. And he has made sure that he has helped us in every aspect of that. Yes, Congressman Green mentioned the Metro money. And that one is a first payment because there will be more to come. It is about the electric buses, but there will be more to come. We've talked about the RACE grant. The RACE grant, y'all, is very important because this is dollars that are going to an area that's underserved, that frankly had probably been neglected for some time. But under this administration and Joe Biden and Mr. Secretary, there is a big, big emphasis on equity and serving our underserved communities and those that can least afford to get around. Their job is to make it better for those that are challenged in getting around to be able to get around. Because as I always like to say, if you know how to get around, you know how to get along. And equity is an important component to all the work that the Secretary is doing. Lastly, let's not forget that this is Bush, but you've got Hobby. Hobby also got money. Hobby also got money. I represent Hobby, and now it's great to say that I represent the 5-star airport. I didn't know that, but I certainly now have a great new line for my district, because not only are we 5-star, we got money, and all the money, again, is to address some of the equity issues and access a lot of the upgrades and things that need to be done to serve the disabled community. So this is a great opportunity to continue to work together to make sure that it is about planes and trains and automobiles. Now, he and I are still talking about the trains because they continue to block my district. And Mayor, we had a great town hall meeting with the FAA administrator not too long ago, but we're working on it. And lastly, there's ships. Money has gone to the port, and money's still coming to the port. While it's not in his jurisdiction directly, just know that when it gets to getting around, whether it's train, planes, automobiles, or ships, Joe Biden is helping us. The secretaries are helping us, and the congressional delegation is working together to get it done. So thank you all again, and Mr. Secretary, I'll see you tomorrow at the White House.
I always want to offer my appreciation to the media because that's how information gets out. So thank you all for being here. Our guest, who I am delighted to be able to welcome him in a collaborative way and to this historic 18th Congressional District. And just to say that the money is spread everywhere. We do it collectively, but we are so grateful for the uniqueness of the airports and this international airport as well that is growing. And so the message is that grants and aid for airports have been funded as high as $7 million, and there are small projects. We know that Houston and this great airport, and the city's leadership, delegation working together, in particular working in our individual congressional districts, which we do, it is as well an opportunity for the Secretary to see. He sends dollars here, or we get grant dollars. They will be in good hands. I wanted you to come today to see our schools, to see the HBCU and technology, and one more effort that we will have that shows the holisticness of mobility in Houston. I hope you'll go back to Washington tomorrow with the words of Houston, Texas, and all that you've seen, so that we can be one of the strongest partners to the administration, but also to your commitment to a world-class transportation system. The 19th Secretary of Transportation doing the very best, and excellence is his name, and that is Pete Buttigieg. Thank you so very much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman, and thank you for encouraging me to come to your district and to see so many of the great things going on here for myself. We're having a great visit so far. We began at North Forest High School with students who have a bright future in transportation. We were at Texas Southern earlier, your alma mater, I believe, Congresswoman Garcia, saw the remarkable aviation and other programming they have here. So pleased to be here at the airport, and later on looking at the metro. Mayor, it's great to be with you. A mayor whose leadership is so well known in the community of mayors that it reached as far as Indiana when I had that title, and is now an excellent partner for us in the federal administration. Director Diaz, you and your team have a great deal to be proud of here, and your enthusiasm is contagious. I want to thank all of the local leaders, county leaders, the labor leaders who are here, who we will be turning to in so many ways to deliver this. So glad to be joined by you. And a special thank you to the congressional delegation here, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, again, Congressman Al Green, and Congresswoman Garcia. We are so thankful for your leadership. I want to make it very clear there is a direct line of cause and effect between their support for the bipartisan infrastructure law and the funding that we are delivering to Houston and everywhere around the country. It is because they agreed to team up with fellow members of Congress under the President's leadership that we have a historic investment in everything from highways to ports to rail to, of course, airports, transit, and everything in between. And we would not be here without their support. In addition to the Inflation Reduction Act that we'll be celebrating tomorrow at the White House, lowering prescription drug costs, lowering the federal deficit, lowering energy bills for Americans, and doing so many other good things. At our department, we're hard at work delivering on that infrastructure law, and there are so many examples of that, including right here in Houston, as was mentioned earlier. $21 million from the Department of from the infrastructure law from our department to rebuild Telephone Road to make it safer. New sidewalks, better crosswalks, more protected bike lanes, protecting some of the most vulnerable road users and some of the most underserved residents in the city. And I'll tell you, Mayor and everybody who was part of that, and each of these members strongly supported that application. This was a very competitive process. More than $10 requested for every one we could give out, so you should be very proud that you won in that process. And then another $21 million to buy a new fleet of electric buses, meaning cleaner air, faster commutes, and less greenhouse gases and pollution going into the air from our transit. And then there's our airports. In a country that ushered in the modern aviation age, and yet we feel so many times, especially when we're abroad and see something magnificent in one of those airports overseas, we think, why shouldn't we have that? And we should, and we will, thanks to the investments that we're making. When you're checking in, you ought to be able to get through security, check your bags, get to your gate without any unnecessary delay. If you're traveling with small children, as Chasten and I are from time to time, you ought to have an easy place to change your baby when you're at a layover. If you're traveling for work, you ought to be able to plug in and charge. And the improvements that are being made now are going to make a huge difference, both in the things you see in the gates and the terminals, and things most passengers won't think about, like the energy efficiency of the doors we just walked in, the condition of the power plant, or so many other things that go on under the hood. Now, to date, George Bush Intercontinental Airport has received over $80 million through that bipartisan infrastructure law. And that's going to make it faster and easier to do all of those things. Check your bags, get through security, find your gate. It's going to reduce the carbon footprint of this airport, and it's going to drive jobs and economic growth in Houston for years to come. Because, of course, we're also putting people to work building that new infrastructure with good-paying jobs. So many good-paying union jobs are being created through this legislation and this investment. I would add that there is a major opportunity for wealth creation for those who have been left out in the past. The history of airport construction in the United States includes, for example, some of the best engines to create thriving Black and Latino middle classes in America's cities. And we're mindful of the opportunity on the road ahead here. And this is just one of the airports that have already got funding from that infrastructure law. We're doing a new terminal in Pittsburgh, new gates in Orlando, better bathrooms in Chattanooga, better escalators in Huntsville, a general aviation terminal in South Dakota that's currently a mobile home will be replaced with the building that they ought to have. All of this to make it better for the American traveling public. And yes, I have a feeling with all of the additional programs that we're about to release that we will be getting a lot more applications for grant funding from Houston and the surrounding area, and I trust that they will be strong applications. So I just want to close with one other reflection, because we're here right in the middle of the flow, and we see so many people coming and going, and I want to acknowledge the many workers who are the true engine of this place, whether it's the airport management team, the pilots, flight attendants, TSA, CBP, the folks who are handling the baggage, the people who are making sure the wheelchairs move, working the concessions, at the gate agent stands, whatever your role is at this airport, we acknowledge that infrastructure is your workplace, and you deserve a first-rate workplace, as all Americans do. That's what this is about. That's what we're proud to team up to deliver, and that's why I'm looking forward to returning again and again to see the further progress that's going to be made. Thank you again for the great hospitality and the chance to celebrate this wonderful funding. Thanks very much.